Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I know that everything is running late, so we've been brought in as a turbo session. We have to try and make up for a lot of lost time. So we're going to try and make this as quick as possible. I couldn't have asked for a better panel with Dimitri and Raj, both absolute big industry stalwarts. And besides having the nattiest smile, Dimitri is the nattiest dresser that I've seen in this industry. I was joking with him early in the morning that this is shoe number 462. For those of you who don't know, he has 600 shoes.
But there's a story, and I'll tell you the story. So my father passed away at the age of 94 last year, and he grew up in the Second World War. There was a lot of poverty. And as I was been growing up together with my brother, he kept on telling me, every time I was asking for something, he would say, don't ever ask me for this because at your age, I didn't even have shoes to wear. So in my mind, I tied up, if you have a lot of shoes, you're actually wealthy. So I've got a lot of shoes. Now the problem was that he kept telling the same story to my kids. So that meant that my kids realized that their father-in-law, their grandfather, never had any shoes to wear because he was been telling the same story for 90 years. But you're right. If you have a lot of shoes, that means you're wealthy. You're good.
So is the count 600 or have you added more?
No, it's about 400.
Okay. You sold some, is it? Okay, let's sort of get into this absolutely quickly. Raj, I'm going to start with you. You've got, what, and you know, forgive me if I get the count wrong because the numbers are changing almost by the hour. 153 operating hotels and another 83 in the pipeline. What I'd be interested in knowing, Raj, is how does this stack up within the APEC region that you manage? How does India position within that region given the kind of numbers and the growth that you're seeing?
Sure. Thanks, Mandeep. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, good afternoon again. My sincere apologies that I'm not able to join you in person. Love to, be there in person, see all of you. However, I am glad that I was given the opportunity to be able to join virtually. So, Mandeep, to answer your question, India remains a key strategic priority for us. In my world of Asia Pacific ex-China, today it is the largest market with 153 hotels open, another 85 under construction. Close to India is Japan, where next month we'll open our 100th hotel, and is also coming along very, very fast. In fact, there's a little bit of a competition that Japan could one day take over, but India remains pretty solid at this stage. And then number third is Indonesia, where we have 77 hotels operating and another 45 under construction. So when I look at across Asia Pacific ex-China, we have 610 hotels open now and almost 400 hotels under construction, with India leading the way.
Wow. Dimitri, you corrected me. I was checking with you. I said you have 60 hotels open. You said, no, it's 61. And you have 40-odd hotels in the pipeline, taking your score above 100. Yep. I'm going to ask you the same question. How does this fit into the larger picture on Asia Pacific? Where does India sort of stand?
Look, we came a bit late to the party. There's always a challenge when you come late to the party because everybody's drunk already and you don't know, you're not having as much fun as the others. And obviously Rajeev had a lot of fun in India already. So we came a bit late to the party, but that doesn't mean that India is not one of our top priorities, especially in the Europe, Middle East, Eurasia, and Africa, which is I'm leading. Just to give you an idea, we have about 130 hotels in Turkey, and we have 61 in India. That is a comparison why I feel that we're a bit late to the party. Having said that, though, We have a great pipeline. We have a great team. We have great owners. We have great brands. And I don't think that this is a numbers game, right? I mean, we can talk about pipelines and we can talk about numbers all day long. I was really interested to hear the panel before talk about trust and talk about, what great partnerships are all about. And Rahul made a very interesting closing statements that partnerships are beyond people. Partnerships are beyond brands. Partnerships are about, how we feel about what this market can actually deliver for us. And for Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, the Indian market is not just very important in India, but it's very important outside of India. Actually, for us, it's more important outside of India than in India. We have 150 million middle-class consumers from India that are going to travel around the world, and we want to make sure that we capture a big percentage of those consumers. So for us, when we look at India, we don't just look at how many hotels or resorts we're going to have in the country, but all these millions of consumers that they want to experience the world and this wonderful hospitality industry, how can we capture this, bearing in mind that we have 9,200 hotels in 95 countries. So that, to me, is as important as having 60 hotels here or 61 plus 40 in the pipeline.
You were talking of partnerships, and I think last week you announced a partnership in India to bring the Microtel brand, and you've signed with a third-party management company who's going to be developing Microtel in India. Tell us a little more about that, and what I would be also interested in knowing is, of the 25 brands I think that you have, why Microtel?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting conversation. We started about a year ago. It was actually I think it was at your conference when it was late night, and me and Vikram from Nile Hospitality were sitting there and talking about the future. And Vikram said, I would be very interested to take over one of Wyndham's brands and bring it to India. And I said, I've got the right brand for you. And he said, what is that? I said, Microtel. He said, why Microtel? So he asked me exactly the same question. I said, it's growing fast in China. It's one of the fastest growing brands in China. It's one of the fastest growing Wyndham brands in the United States. And I said that the type of brand that it is, I think it fits very well with what the Indian consumer is looking for. We dived into it, and a year later, we made it a reality. I think if you study a bit what the brand stands for, it's actually tailor-made to the Indian market, because we do believe, yes, luxury is amazing, and I'm all for luxury, and it's great, but I want to remind everybody, luxury is only 15% of the world. 15% of the population on this earth can afford $1,000 a night. The rest, 85%, is where we make our money. And we believe that mid-scale, and I think that Rajeev will agree, mid-scale and economy and budget across the world is where every CEO of every big hotel chain actually sees the future. So for us, bringing a mid-scale or a mid-scale or economy to mid-scale brand in India with a very trusted partnership, again, we talk about trust and partnership, actually made a lot of sense. So that's why Microtel and that's why India. So very exciting times.
Dimitri, thank you for admitting that the Microtel deal happened at the conference in Goa. Can I send you the invoice?
Yeah, send me the invoice. I knew you were going to say that. Typical HVS.
Raj, coming to you, in your luxury portfolio, the only brand that was missing in India was Edition. You've now signed that in Mumbai, and I think there's more in the pipeline. That completes your entire global luxury brands that you operate, and all of them now are available in India. In the sort of premium brands that you have, you've got the Tribute portfolio now, which is sort of made the debut, and in the Select, you've got Moxie, which has made a debut now, bringing a whole lot of your brands into India. Tell us a little bit more about the new brands that you brought, and also, like Dimitri was saying, you seem to have covered the luxury market first. And where do you think you're going from here, given that you're already at a reasonable sort of critical mass in India? Where do you see the growth coming from?
So, Mandeep, a small correction. When you look at our luxury portfolio, we actually have 8 brands, luxury brands, and the 2 that are missing still in India, one is Bulgari, and the other one is Ritz-Carlton Reserve. So Bulgari is a partnership with LVMH, and at some point in time, we will bring it to India, and so will we bring Ritz-Carlton Reserve when we have the right location and a partner. But just going broadly to luxury, while Dimitri is absolutely right that there's 15% of world's population, consumers that can afford luxury, I think it's also important to note that it's growing strong double-digit year after year, particularly in Asia Pacific as middle class acquires more and more wealth, become more aspirational. We are seeing that the upper middle class and the wealthy are, traveling extensively and aspiring to stay, if not using luxury brands, and often they may fly a low-cost carrier and end up at a luxury hotel at the destination. So luxury definitely has a decades-long growth story in front of it. Just to give you an exact number, this year, 80% of the deals we have signed in India are in the premium and luxury space. And as you know, in the first 9 months, we had signed over 5,000 rooms in India. It's been a record year, and we believe, there's still more to go before the end of the year. So from a growth point of view, I genuinely believe there is growth opportunity across every lodging segment in India and across Asia Pacific, given where you see the US is at, or for that matter, China is at, and given the growth India is experiencing both on GDP as well as, socioeconomic improvements, and specifically with luxury, we will continue to see more resort destinations continue to come up as we move forward.
Interesting. Dimitri, Wyndham has used in India its global growth strategy, which is franchising, and that has been your differentiator. How has that worked out for you, given that you're probably the only big boy in the hotel branded space who does franchising? And have you ever been tempted to do the management agreement route as well?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's always been a dilemma. Do you really stay loyal to your business model, or do you deviate and start doing something else? Franchising has worked for us, right? We are the world's biggest franchise business. We understand the model, we get it, we develop it. Could we manage if we wanted it? Of course we could. The question is, it's not part of our business strategy at this point in time. Actually, if you look at, I look at this room and I see the Hilton and the Accords, and a lot of brands are now moving into franchise rather than managed. So I believe that there is a group of people out there that they can do it better than us. And if somebody can actually do it better than we can in a specific area, in a specific business, we find these people and we do business with them instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and do it ourselves. Are we going to say that we will never manage? Of course we cannot say that, because there are areas where we do manage. We do manage in China, for example. We do manage certain businesses in Latin America. Out of the almost 700 hotels that I have in my region, I actually manage 19 properties. But is that our expertise? I wouldn't say that. If we manage, we do it well, but it's not our business model.
So it's not completely out of the window. It'll be selective.
Yeah, it's not out of the window, because the world, the time that you put things into a box and you say, oh, Wyndham only does that, or Marriott only does that, or rich people. I think Rajeev said it very well. The same guy that flies on a Ryanair flight or a low-cost flight, the next week can stay at a very luxurious property. The time has gone where you put things into a box. One size doesn't fit all anymore.
Correct.
Things have changed dramatically, and you have to adapt with the times. If you don't adapt, you just die.
Correct. Raj, contrary to Wyndham, Marriott has chosen largely, almost exclusively, with some exceptions, the management agreement route. Although in the US, you would be a very large franchise player. Have you looked at franchising? Is that something that we will see more of in India?
So Mandeep, we are definitely open to franchising, but for the right lodging segment and with the right partner. If you look at our journey over 25 years that we've been in India, we clearly focused on starting as a managed business. Once we got, a reasonable amount of distribution for some of our brands, like say Fairfield by Marriott or Courtyard by Marriott, 4 Points by Sheraton, and others, we then looked at franchising, those brands. In the luxury space, we have a master franchise with ITC, which has been an, exceptionally successful partnership over many, many decades. So it's not that we are shut to franchising. Our view is that there is great opportunity, and from delivering consistent service standards, financial results, overall health of the brand, management currently in Asia Pacific works really well. And that's been our growth story. In fact, across my world in Asia Pacific ex-China, well over 75% of our portfolio is managed, and only 25% is franchised, with some of the big markets like Japan, to some extent a little bit Korea, and then Southeast Asia, small numbers franchised. But not to say that that is not moving, changing. When you think about Japan, we have our mid-scale launch this year, next month, and we are rebranding 14 hotels in one go, which is in partnership with KKR Private Equity Group. And that's going to 4 Points Flex by Sheraton. And all of them will be franchised. We actually set up a platform in partnership with KKR and helped go through the process of helping them set up the platform, and now they're going to take over and run franchise on that portfolio. We've done similar work with other partners as well. So I think, ultimately, as long as we have the right partner who understands and respects the brands and keeps the swim lanes where they need to be, I think we'll be comfortable looking at franchising.
Raj, David Marriott was in India very recently. And tell us a little bit about his visit and about the first global capability center that you're opening outside of the US, which is coming up in Hyderabad in India.
Sure. David Marriott was with me, traveling through India. This was really his second time. The first time David and his whole family had come to India were really in 2008. We have a Marriott home about 100 kilometers outside Chennai, which is supported by a charity called the Rising Star, where they actually look after school kids whose parents are affected by leprosy. And the entire Marriott family came and actually stayed at the school for about 7 to 9 days, just working at the school, helping with that community. And, it was just incredible to watch. This trip was more driven around getting to see India, getting to see our growth story. We celebrated some key milestones like Goa Marriott Resort, which actually turns 25 this year as our first managed hotel in the country. We celebrated 10 years of JW Marriott Mussoorie. And again, David is a great ambassador, not only because he carries the family name, but for his passion for people, passion for the business, and broadly, the communities. So we got him to engage not only in the hotels, but even outside, work with us on many different things, and he loved every single bit of it.
Dimitri, a little birdie tells me that Jeff Bellotti, your global CEO, is going to be visiting India very soon, and I'm told this is probably his first visit in close to 8 or 10 years. So India must certainly be spoken about in the sort of corridors of power at Wyndham. Tell us a little bit about Jeff's planned visit.
Yeah, I think Rajeev and your boss and my boss actually probably had a chat and said, "See you in India." So they're both coming at the same time. So this is going to be very interesting for both of us. Lots of stressful days are coming up. Look, Jeff is a global guy, right? He's the CEO. He's an amazing CEO. He like many others in the hospitality industry, he took us public 7 years ago. He drove, he survived us through COVID, which was very tough for all of us. You all know that we had the hostile takeover bid by choice, that he survived through that, and he came out looking at the shareholders and saying a standalone Wyndham business actually makes more sense than anything else. So he had a busy few years, and I think he got rid of, he had enough of me whispering in his ears that he has to come to India and he has to see all the great things that are happening in India, not just necessarily about Wyndham, because, Wyndham is only a part, it's like a Lego, right? Marriott is a Lego, we are a little piece of that Lego, that puzzle. We're all big parts of a bigger puzzle that is the incredible India. So for me, bringing Jeff here to experience what the Indian hospitality has to offer is going to be amazing. So I'm really looking forward, and I think that Tony and Jeff will have a great time talking to each other. So they can leave us alone, Rajeev, and we get on with our business. So
I'm much looking forward to that. Can't wait for that to happen. Raj, interestingly, what I see in the market is that now that you have over 200 odd hotels, whether operational or in the pipeline, in some of the key markets, you're seemingly getting locked out now because of the protection radius, etc. Growth is coming from tier 3, tier 4 cities or smaller cities where development is not necessarily institutional capital, smaller investors, maybe the gestation is longer. Is that in some way going to sort of impede your growth story?
I don't think it'll impede our growth story, because when you look at markets, be it in the US, New York, of the world, even Shanghai, for example, we have 60 odd hotels. Dubai itself, we have 75 hotels. When you think about today, the biggest market in India for us is Bangalore, where we have 18 hotels open and a number more under construction. Again, what we've been seeing, Mandeep, and it's now fairly common knowledge, that given our strength of distribution and the loyalty platform that we have with Marriott Bonvoy, which now has around 214 million members, that we are getting a lion's share of the wallet. Our market share premiums are generally around 25% higher in comparison to our competitors. This is across Asia Pacific. When we look at our partners, there was this conversation earlier about growth with partners, and you would probably agree with this, that Marriott, our success story in India is really been driven by the exceptional partnerships we've had in India. And in fact, 45 to 50% of our growth every single year has come from growing with our existing partners.
Yeah.
So I strongly believe that will continue. There is an incredible opportunity in Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4 markets, and we are now starting to realize that opportunity. We are starting to see hotels come about, hotels being very successful in these markets, likes of Siliguri's and Shillong's and similar markets. And that's what's fueling a lot more growth and a lot more opportunity. And also, I have been saying this now for some time, that in the last 5 years, India has really been investing, the government has been investing heavily on infrastructure. And that's going to be the game changer. We saw it in China over the last 30 years. We've seen it in the US in 70s and 60s and 70s. As soon as infrastructure comes about, you get new airports, new roads, you see people on the move. And that's what's moving India today. And to me, that's where you will see that the wealth that is being created in the secondary, tertiary, and these fourth-tier cities will start to move about and use these hotels that we are developing across the country. And I think, India has a potential eventually in the next 5 to 10 years to get to 1 million rooms. And we are a long way off from that number today.
We're all waiting for that to happen, Raj, eagerly.
Yeah. And also, Mandeep, I forgot to answer your last question on Global Capability Center that we opened in Hyderabad. That is the first outside of the US. Now, Marriott as a company, we are investing close to $2 billion in technology upgrade across the board for our tech platform, be it on loyalty, be it on PMS, reservations, and other systems. And for us, we believe the exceptional talent India has, this is just a great way for us to set up a GCC in India and start to really service our needs as we continue to grow globally.
Very, very interesting. Dimitri, before we wrap up, are we going to see an announcement soon on the head of India? And are there going to be any structural changes or shifts in the India office?
Yeah, I mean, look, as Raj said, we consider India as being one of the cornerstones of markets to develop. We have a great team here on site. We're opening our new office in January. We are putting more people on the ground. We believe in the Indian talent. I said it so many times. When I was growing up in hospitality, you could only have a career in this business if you were German, Swiss, Austrian, or British. Now, more than half of the leaders of hospitality, GM-wise and leadership, they're Indian origin. So that, to me, means a lot in terms of talent. Indian is used to be the workforce. Now, Indian hospitality is the management. So this is the future. This is where the future lies in terms of people. This is where the future lies in terms of consumers. I think we are very tired to wait for the Chinese to travel again, and everybody's bidding on the 150 million of Indian travelers that are going to travel around the world. So you guys continue to be the great country that you are. Still, people here love hospitality. They see hospitality as a career. And that's why every time I come here, I leave being excited and very hopeful that the hospitality industry is in the right hands. That's why I come here so often.
Absolutely. Before we wind up, ladies and gentlemen, just one anecdote from my personal experience. I was in New York in July this year. I was invited to speak at the New York Hospitality Conference, the NYU Hospitality Conference, and I was doing a little story on India. But very, very interestingly, I was attending a panel discussion where there were 5 global CEOs on stage, the top 5 global CEOs talking to a CNBC anchor. It was a 45-minute session on what's happening across the globe. And I want to tell you, 25 minutes out of those 45 minutes, every single global CEO on the panel spoke only about India. So I can tell you that in the corridors of power globally, India has started to matter. India is making the right sounds and the right sort of ripples. And I think, like they say in Hindi, ab meri bari. I think it's time for India to shine like it never has in the past.
But do not, because do not become complacent. Don't live. The Greeks were very good at it. We live in our past glory. And every time you talk about Greece, we talk about Socrates and Apollo and Plato and Aristotle. So don't live on your past glory. Make sure that you continue the journey that you have embarked, because out of the 100 wonder kids that they are born every year, and they're going to be the next big thing, only 3 actually maximize their potential. So never get complacent, keep on doing the amazing job, and keep on banging the drums that this industry is a great contributor to the future of this country. Okay, so don't complacent.
On that note, thank you very much, Raj. Thank you very much, Dimitri. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been wonderful being here.